Hello, everyone, and welcome to Summit Live, episode 26. Today's episode is called Why Design Transformation Matters. My name is David Newmark. I am the president of Summit International Flooring. We are broadcasting our Summit Live program from Whippany, New Jersey, where our headquarters are. And as always, we are on a whole variety of platforms, getting longer by the day to name. We have a very interesting program today. We welcome TPG Architecture of New York City, one of the country's premier architectural and design firms. We will have two guests with us. We're going to welcome shortly, in just a moment, Lisbeth Jimenez, who's the lead designer on our own studio. This is what this whole program is about. We're now in our second season. This is our 26th episode, and we have redesigned our office studio for this, and then we will soon welcome in right after that Eileen Ley, who is the materials specialist for TPG. But first, as always, let me introduce my counterpart, Mark Becker, our national sales director. Welcome, Mark, as always.
Always good to be back.
It's great to be back for another year. And without any further ado, without wasting any time, let's bring in Lisbeth Jimenez.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Lisbeth. How are you?
Great. Nice to see you guys.
Very nice to see you. And there is Eileen Ley, who we will bring in just a moment. That was just a little hello. We'll see you shortly. Lisbeth, good to see you. Thank you very much for working with us the last, 3 or 4 months on the transformation of this studio.
Yes, I was going to say, you guys look great on your new backdrop.
It's funny, before we begin the program, Mark and I did not speak with each other, but we both decided that we would wear blue and shades of blue and gray today so that we would coordinate with our new background, which we will talk about shortly with some of our suppliers. But let me turn the floor over to Mark. I'm sure he would like to say hello and ask you a few questions.
Yeah, it's of course nice to see you again. People watching may have noticed the new introduction to the show. Everything about this is new, not just the studio, but the studio forced the changes to upgrade our introduction, and we think you did a fantastic job. The first thing that I would like to ask is, we challenged you to do something interesting with a very, very small space. People who are watching may not realize that the studio is only in a small room, sound-proofed from the rest of the office here, and the camera only sees a small part of the studio. So when you're working and looking at a space that you can barely put a couple of chairs in and out of, from my layman opinion, what are your first thoughts? How do you go about figuring out what to do when you have such a limitation?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but for me, I was prioritizing your backdrop, what we see in the camera mostly, and as a design principle and element, I just really wanted to bring in excitement to this space, because this is a platform where we discuss about interior design, and obviously there's no other more exciting industry than the interior design industry. So, I wanted your studio to represent that excitement that our industry brings, and I did that with, again, shape and form, which you can see throughout the different elements in the space, including the furniture and the finishes, as well as color. So those are the things that I focused on, so that I can brighten up the space and give it a lot of excitement.
You're too young to know what happened in the beginning, but when we first started with this show, we did what David and I would have seen when we were growing up, and the first talk shows were on late night television. And there was a curtain behind them. We had these two chairs, so we worked with the chairs we already had, and we went and bought a curtain and matched.
Yeah.
So as far as design goes, there really was not much thought.
No, just so everybody knows, those chairs were from my old apartment, and we were scrambling to cover the walls, so we ended up where we're Bed Bath and Beyond, if I'm not mistaken, is where we bought our original set.
Well, we had this idea that we were going to continue to stay connected to designers, and we were going to build a studio. And about 3 weeks or so later, we had our first show in the air. So we were moving very quickly. But as far as design goes, when you talk about form, which we'll let you talk a little more about, there was no thought to form. There was okay, we've got these chairs. We can't have a blank wall behind us. What are we going to do? The transformation, and Alan is going to run some video showing the old design and the new design. It's really amazing. There's a different feel in here. It's a crisp, clean, current, and modern look. It's just fantastic what you did with virtually, I would say, about a 10 by 4 foot rectangle. It's really how much you've changed the look and feel of this place.
Yes, as an interior designer, you know, we have these challenges every day, so it's natural for us to be able to bring any space, no matter what size, into something that it's better for the people in it.
So in addition to some of the forms that you brought in and some of the shapes, I'm just wondering about the sense of color, of patterns. Like if you had asked me on a blank piece of paper, I would have thought, well, I don't know if we want a busy background. It might take away from the people on the camera, but the background that you chose for us is perfect. So what are your thoughts when it comes to more simplistic versus more contemporary patterning, and how do we wind up with the colors where we are? We'd love to hear more about your thoughts.
Yes, I think it's easy to come up with, you know, good solutions because we have so much resources, you know, in our industry. And, you know, looking at GRANORTE, this particular backdrop that you have that you will discuss later more about, but I just saw the pattern, and basically it reminded me of something that is more natural, something that is more welcoming and warm. So I kind of started with that, and also tying it in with the furniture, who is also has that kind of like curvilinear feel to it. Even the side chair there, the freehand side chair, has many different diameters for circular forms, which you can really see, but it's like in different scale. You have like the bigger circles and then smaller on the walls. Even the coffee table, the furniture that you're sitting in has like a curved back. So that kind of like ties everything in.
See that?
Yeah. Yes. And when it comes to the colors, basically, you know, these are your branding colors, you know, blue and the yellow, and then we're bringing in some neutrals with the walls and the grays. Also on the flooring, which you can see here, but you're bringing out like the blue tones that the wall has as well.
You'll see the Alan's going to switch to the handheld to show the actual blue. And you know what? Until you said that, I didn't even realize that you were using our own company colors. That was right over my head, and I thank you for that, because the company colors happen to mean a lot to me. And you did mention one thing, and I just want to point this out as we go along. You mentioned GRANORTE as the supplier of the wall panels, and just so you know, and just so our audience knows, GRANORTE is one of our key suppliers. They're a cork company in Portugal, and we wanted an acoustical dampening, a sound dampening wall, and you used our resources for that, and we thank GRANORTE for their donation, and we will thank them again later for that as well. But we now know that you used a lot of our products and our company colors, and to get and also using the shapes like that to design.
Yep. So GRANORTE, just for everyone watching, you can see them on the website. They make floor tiles and wall tiles, cork, printed cork, painted cork, a lot of variety. As far as the carpet goes, the carpet's from Object Carpet out of Germany, top 50 luxury brand. Alan showed a little bit of it a moment ago. The carpet is called Accor. The design is called Accor. Accor has a sister company, a sister design called Pearl. One's a high luster. The one that we're using is a matted finish. But you will find colors and textures from Object Carpet that you don't see from any place else. You will find custom print programs. You will find tiles, printed carpet tiles. Again, go to the website, check out Object Carpet. The variety, you could spend all day on their website and be looking at new things all day long. As far as the other suppliers, Lisbeth, maybe you can talk a little bit about them because you know them better than we do as far as who helped us with the table, chairs, et cetera.
Yeah, so we have the two tables, the two chairs that you're sitting on and the side table. They are from Technion, Studio TK in particular. And, Studio TK as well as Uhuru, who provided the coffee table, are two companies that we always go to, when we need furniture. They are well-rounded in regards to providing options. Uhuru is a Brooklyn-based company. It's more of a boutique company where you can kind of go for more unique pieces. They have also the ability to customize everything that you need in regards to like a project. But again, both companies are companies that we work with all the time. And obviously, they look great in your space.
And we'd like to thank them too. We will be thanking them all year long, quite honestly, but we would like to thank them for their donations. We are on a shoestring budget, as many companies are during COVID times, and we thank them again for their donations. So without any further ado, before we bring in Eileen, let's show the audience a quick 2-minute video of what this space went through in a matter of a very short period of time.
How we doing, Juan? We're doing good. I have a whole nother container.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be good.
Good.
And is that what they recommend?
Yeah, well, they just recommend a contact cement.
Looks like color is a little more saturated.
And the website?
Like it's a slightly more blue. I feel like.
Yeah. You know what it is? There's a bunch of different blues in that.
In the box.
In the pattern. So you must have given me one that has like more green.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
like the sample that I have at home.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
So I was like, oh my god. So then I found one that is closer to this. So I don't feel bad. Yeah, maybe it should be close to the one color.
This is Moonrise.
Yeah, I like this one.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about looking at those two tiles that are solid?
Do we have enough to replace it with?
You can see. I mean,
As long as it's not gonna damage the adjacent tile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Would you think that portion capture in the camera?
Yeah, see, if you look at this right here, this frame, this is probably what it's gonna look like.
There you have it. Bravo to Lisbeth and to Eileen for your support on that, and to Alan Smith, who's our the man behind the scenes today and the man behind the camera usually, who put that together last night, and I received it at 1:45 in the morning. I don't know what time before he puts to sleep. Anyway, we'd like to at this point welcome in Eileen Ley, who's the material specialist at TPG. Hello, Eileen.
Hello.
For that brief moment in time, just a moment.
That's okay.
Just a few minutes.
I get a little extra time.
Yeah, well, welcome.
Live TV. Eileen, first of all, I would like to say a personal thank you to you because years ago, before we had any salespeople in New York, you and I met and you allowed me, you're in a prestigious position at a prestigious firm, and you allowed us time to introduce you to Summit International Flooring. Since then, Alan Smith has been working the New York territory for the last number of years, and I know that you and Lisbeth and others there have a pretty good relationship with him, that that I never got to form because I was all over the country. But you are so gracious, and we appreciate the relationship that you have allowed TPG to build with our company.
Absolutely.
We'd like to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about you and your background, and then I have a huge question for you.
Ooh, that's a big question. I have been with TPG now 15 years as their director of the resource library. And I actually have a background in fine arts and sort of segued into this industry over 20 years ago. And spent some time at Perkins & Will and then right over to TPG. So I have a pretty heavy background in primarily commercial, a little bit of healthcare, and getting my feet wet with some hospitality with our sort of new-ish studio that's a few years old now, but new market sector for me.
Do you think that hospitality is going to boom once the world and the country are vaccinated? I would have to think there's a lull in that segment, that it's so many restaurants closed. I would think new ones will open. Hotels might redo gyms, bedrooms. What do you see in the future on the hospitality segment as far as being growth oriented?
Ooh, pop quiz in a market sector I'm not that familiar with. We have a few people that I can definitely point you to for more in-depth discussion. But from what I've been touching on and seeing, I definitely feel like there's going to be transformation to a more private and in-room experience in hotels where you will be doing maybe a lot more of your vacationing and working from those locations.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
I feel like also like as interior designers, we're probably going to be busy, you know, considering that a lot of the restaurants now have to, you know, stay outdoors or like reconfigured inside. So I feel like, you know, like they are going to be probably coming back to designers to think about in the long term, you know, like if this happens again or if this continues to happen, what can we do about it? So I feel like that's definitely something to consider.
So design is going to have to be oriented to helping people stay open if we go through ups and downs like this. That's an interesting point.
I would think so.
Right.
Something else I was thinking about, which there was a trend starting, and I think it's going to pick up a lot of steam in the not too distant future, is a lot of these hotel rooms will probably start offering potentially a bicycle or a treadmill or something in there, because I can't see how the gyms within the hotels are going to be that active now, because that's, you know, one of the bigger spreaders.
I sure hope that people's memories are short and they rebuild all their gyms and they rebuild all their rooms. That would be great. But Eileen, one of the big question I had, the biggest question I have for you is, when it comes to materials, you guys have a pretty decent sized library. A lot of firms are breaking their libraries, but no matter how big it is, there is so much product. I grew up with a friend. We went to high school together, and he told me he runs a library for a company that handles restaurants. He told me, I used to know everything in every page of every catalog in this, and now look. And he shows me this big room with 1 million magazines in it. What do you look for in product? I assume easy to clean is important these days, but no matter how big, you have limited space. So what helps make the cut of what you would accept or put in your library and what you would just let your designers know exists on a website somewhere?
Right. I mean, that's always changing, and it's always sort of a refreshing and a revamping effort. I try to put in a physical space materials that we need to pull a palette together and present to a client, and sort of follow the things that are trending and what we're specifying, and make sure that those materials are on hand so that we have those in-house. We don't have to go out to a showroom to get those things.
You know, you used a word that I was going to bring up before, trending. Where do you get your ideas about color trends? I mean, do you make them up? Do you say, okay, this year I think blues and yellows are going to be the trend? Or do you, I mean, years ago, a long time ago, I was with a big fiber producing company, and they were members of the color marketing group. And they told me back then that they got their lead from European fashions that are about 6 months to 12 months ahead of us in the United States. Do you follow that same rule, or where do you get your color ideas?
I think that really varies from designer to designer. Also,
I feel like the trending colors really come from like the paint manufacturers typically. Like Benjamin Moore would have like its own color of the year, and then Pantone has their own color of the year. And like based on that, I feel like then all the other vendors start coming up with like these, palettes inspired by those trending colors. I mean, that's what I've seen, because we don't come up with the colors. So
yeah.
No, I was just kind of wondering where.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And again, I only because I had a little bit of background with that I know that there's a whole big organization called the Color Marketing,
Right.
and from that, they all get together and they talk about colors and trends. And
When I was in the area rug business, we watched the European fashion segment as well.
Right.
Interesting stuff. So,
I think now that we're more virtual and global, those sources come from all over the place. There are different color trend organizations. You've got, I know it takes a while for fashion to kind of filter into interiors, but all of that is so much more immediate now. And I think that influences maybe not so immediately the textiles and the furniture that we have to choose from, but maybe how we put those together.
The world's moving fast. One of the things that we've done is pride ourselves on service because of some of these issues. Like when, for example, when Lisbeth wanted to see some physical wall samples, we did not have this here. We started, GRANORTE's our newest partner. We had only flooring samples. So we had samples sent from Portugal. And we do this every day. If we're missing, we have a huge amount of samples in our warehouse, but if we're missing a sample, we ship it from Western Europe right to the designer. We save time, and we hope that level of service keeps us active to be able to help in your success, because we don't just think of Summit. Our orders come from dealers who are going to do installations, but you are our customers. So we try to do everything with that in mind, and we know you appreciate it because you work with us, but we do try very hard to keep things moving at the speed of light, because that's really what it takes today.
In real estate, you hear location, 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 but in our business, it's about service, service, service. And it really is like that, because there's just so many people, so much competition out there.
Well, we try hard, and we love this relationship. We love what you've done with our studio, and we appreciate you coming back on to talk about it today.
Thank you. I have a question before we move on from trends. Dave, you said that you didn't realize that the colors were relating to your logo. Did you know?
Sometimes,
Did you know?
He's just
They are the colors of the year.
I mean, when you just said that, I was like,
Right. Eileen just said, like, these are actually the color of the years. Did you know that?
The yellow and the gray.
In your space.
We've seen the blues as the color of the year. I did not know that the yellow was part of that.
Benjamin Moore is blue, and then Pantone is gray and yellow, which is your space.
well, you know what?
So you're very trendy.
I have to tell you, I could never be a designer, because I would not have put this all together. That's for sure. I think you two are great. I think your company is great. We thank you for everything that you have done for us. We look forward to working with you in the future. We'd like to thank you for being with us today as our guests.
It has been our pleasure.
Thank you both.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, you know what? Alan's going to give a real quick, before we say goodbye to you, Alan's going to the handheld to give you a quick look of what the whole entire studio looks like now. There we have, we actually have a little peek-in window. In this case, we're peeking out into the main office space. You can see our some of the samples. There's Mark. I can't see what else. We have the beautiful table that it was kindly donated. There is, I don't know what that is. These are some accessories along with our jacaranda carpet. very important. You're missing this. This is very important because Rocco, who's our company mascot, is normally here with us. There's a problem though, because these chairs don't allow for Rocco to fit behind me like he used to. So we're going to have to work that out for next week. He had an emergency. We had a flood in our basement this morning, and he had to go home to let the plumber and the HVAC people in. Anyway, we thank you very much for being part of our show, and we'd like to say again thank you. And let's talk about next week's guest will be Alchemy Studio from New York. We look forward to having them next week. If you should have any questions for us, please reach us at info@summit-flooring.com or on our toll-free number 877-496-3566. We always do look forward to hearing from you. If you have any suggestions for programs, any comments or criticisms, which I'm sure you don't have, we'd like to hear from you at that point too. So thank you again, TPG. Thank you, Alan Smith, our production manager today. Thank you, everyone, for being part of our show. And we look forward to seeing you next week, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.